Deep within the shifting sands of the desert, where time has long since buried the past, an ancient tomb lies undisturbed until now. Driven by greed and the promise of shinies, a warband of orcs has dared to plunder the resting place of a long-forgotten dynasty. With reckless abandon, they smash their way through sacred halls, prying gems from the walls and laughing in the face of curses. But some treasures are not meant to be taken, and some kings never truly die. The slumbering legions of Nehekara awaken, their hollow eyes burning with vengeance. What was once a raid has now become a battle for survival. The desert does not forgive, and the dead do not forget. Hello my friends, this is Dragonheart the Prince of Wales, and welcome back to my channel. Today we have a battle report, 2,000 points of Tomb Kings versus Orcs and Goblins. I am again fighting my friend Matthew. We had a great game. Very fun battle report. Looking forward to showing you this one. If you enjoy the video, then do all the YouTube things. I'd really appreciate that. But without further ado, let us go straight into the list. So I'm playing as the Tomb Kings of Khemri for the first time on my channel, although I have had many games with the Tomb Kings now. And this is my 2,000 point list for this battle. So for the characters, we have 699 points. 457 of those points are for the Tomb King himself. He is hand weapon, heavy armor, shield. He is my general. He is riding the Necrolith Bone Dragon. He has the Crook and Flail of Radiance. And he also has the Armor of Ages. Next to him, we have the High Priest at 242 points. Hand weapon, level 4 wizard on a skeletal steed. He has the Talisman of Protection, an Earthing Rod, and a Heretic Jar. And he is using the Law of Elementalism. For my core, I have 515 points. We have 3 Skeleton Chariots at 141 points. Hand weapons, Cavalry Spears, War Bows, Light Armor, and they have a Champion and a Standard Bearer. Next to them, we have 12 Skeleton Archers at 72 points. They have their hand weapons, War Bows, Light Armor, and a Detachment. And then to round off the core, we have 20 Tomb Guard at 302 points. Halberds, Light Armor, Shields, Drilled. We have a Tomb Captain who has the Sword of Might. And we have a Standard Bearer who has the Banner of the Desert Winds, which I will explain in the battle report what that banner does, because it is important. We then have a Special, which is 586 points. We have a Tomb Scorpion at 75 points. Decapitating Claws, Envenom Sting, Heavy Armor, and I've given it the upgrade for the Ambushes as well, which means it can come on later in the game. We have 2 units of Ishabti, one at 147 points and with Great Bows, one at 154 points, which has a Champion, and they are using Ritual Blades. Making its debut, first time ever I used this unit, is the Khemrian War Sphinx at 210 points. Wicked Claws, a hand weapon for the crew, Cavalry Spears for the crew, and Short Bows for the crew, plus an additional crew member. It has an Envenomed Sting for poison attack, and also it has a Fiery Roar upgrade as well. And this Khemrian War Sphinx, I actually purchased this on a Wednesday, and I had it battle ready for the Saturday. It's the quickest I've ever got a model on the table, and it was about 95% painted, which you'll see in the report. Very pleased with this. And finally, we have Ray at 200 points. We have my tried and trusted Necro Sphinx with its Cleaving Blade, Decapitating Strike, Heavy Armor, and its Envenomed Sting. Matthew is playing as the Orcs and Goblins at 1 point shy of 2,000 points. For characters, 607 points. He has a Black Orc War Boss at 356 points. Hand weapon, full plate armor, shield, general, riding a wyvern with a Talisman of Protection, Trollhide trousers, and Ed Button at. He has an Orc Weird Knob at 251 points. Hand weapon, level 4 wizard on a Warbow with the Ogre Blade and Warg magic. Then a mighty 1,077 points in core. 35 Black Orc Mob at 508 points with 35 great weapons, full plate armor, a boss, a standard bearer, and a musician. 16 Orc Mob at 80 points. These have the Warbows. 30 Orc Mob with 287 points. Hand weapons, thrust and spears, light armor, shields, big guns, boss, standard bearer, and a musician. And 20 Orc Mob at 202 points. These have hand weapons, thrust and spears, frenzy, shields, warpaint, big stabbers, boss, standard bearer, and musician. And then in special at 315 points, we have 10 Orc Boar Boys at 220 points. Hand weapons, cavalry spears, heavy armor, big guns, shields, and then a full command. And then we have an Orc Boar Chariot at 95 points, hand weapon, cavalry spears, a 4-up, and a 3rd Orc crew member. So the scenario is Mountain Pass. We did a roll-off and placed the terrain ourselves. The very futuristic looking pieces that you'll see in the photos are meant to be ruins, and we agreed that we can move through these and it would be treated as difficult terrain and would be a -1 to units movement. As for spells, for the Tomb Kings, we have Travel Mystical Pathways, we have Plague of Rust, Earthen Ramparts, and Incantation of Desiccation. And then for the Orcs, they are using Warg Magic, and we have Brainbuster, Vindictive Glare, Evil Sun Shining, and Foot of Gork. So for deployment, the Orcs win the roll-off and deploy first. On my right flank, we have the Orc Boar Chariot with the Orc Boar Boys just inside. Next to them, Matt has his Orc Weird Knob, his Black Orc War Boss on Wyvern, and his Orc Mob. In the centre, we have this massive block of 35 Black Orcs. Then on my far right flank, we have the other 2 units of Orc Mobs. One has Frenzy and the other has Short Bows. I deploy with my Necrosphinx on top of the hill on the far left-hand side. Next to them, we have my Skeleton Archers. My centre has my 20 Tomb Guards and my 2 units of Ushabti. Behind the Tomb Guard, we have my Lich Priest on Skeletal Steed. Behind the Ushabti with bows, we have my Necrolith Bone Dragon and Tomb King. And then behind the Ushabti with Ritual Blades, we have my Khemrian War Sphinx, making its debut in its first game. And to be fair to me, this model was purchased on Wednesday and was built primed and about 90% painted by this battle, which was on a Saturday. So pat on the back for me. Finally, on my right flank, I have my Skeleton Chariot. As you can tell, I'm very, very pleased with my Khemrian War Sphinx. Before Matt makes any movements, my Tomb Guard use their Vanguard movement as they have the Banner of the Desert Winds, which gives them Vanguard and a reserve move. Matt moves his entire army. This is literally all that happened on turn 1. As you can see from the image and from playing this scenario, we are really far away from each other. As I am undead, I cannot march, so I slowly amble my army up the field. I do try to mystical pathways my archers further up the table off the hill to hopefully get them in range to hit something. Unfortunately, I roll low and I do not cast this spell. I reserve move my Tomb Guard unit to get slightly further forward. The Orcs continue to move up with their entire line. The Wyvern takes its place atop the hill, with the Boar Boys, Shaman and Chariot all just in front of the hill. Matt does cast Foot of Gork, which is placed at its maximum range and ends up about 4 inches in front of my Chariot. Foot of Gork does not move and remains where it was placed. The Necrosphinx continues to fly far up the left flank and is heading directly towards the Orc Mob. I decide not to move my Chariot as I would take damage from Foot of Gork, and with my large constructs very close by, I am happy to allow Matt to charge me if he dares. Both my Ushabti units, Dragon and War Sphinx, move up, forming a very formidable front line. My Lich Priest casts Mythical Pathways on the Tomb Guard and yeets them the maximum 12 inches up the board. They land directly in front of the 500 plus Black Orc unit. I roll to get my Scorpion on as he's in ambush, but unfortunately he is delayed and does not come on this turn. Foot of Gork moves a few inches and just chips my Chariot, and I do take a couple of wounds. Matt repositions his Wyvern by bringing him off the hill with a view to get him in some combat. As I did not previously move my Chariot, Matt Boar Chariot is out of range and cannot make a charge as the Boar Chariot does not have Swift Stride. The Shaman moves to the other side of the Boar Chariot away from my Ushabti and War Sphinx and is now able to use Vindictive Glare on my Chariot, which takes a wound and kills one Chariot, leaving me with 2 left. I roll and the Scorpion arrives. Huzzah! This is great as the Scorpion will be useful. However, due to the Mountain Pass scenario, it can only come on either my side or Matt's side of the battlefield. The Scorpion would be no use way down my side of the board, so I place him Matt's side of the board with the hope that he can get into some combat later in the game. My Ushabti with bows, Mythical Pathways away from the Bone Dragon to the left and takes a bow shot at the Wyvern as I now have line of sight, taking 2 wounds off the Wyvern. My Necrosphinx is now in range and charges the Orc mob. We have our first combat of the day. The Orcs have Frenzy and are able to take a few wounds off the Necrosphinx. However, the Necrosphinx is a big strong boy and is able to win combat. The Orc mob fall back in good order and the Necrosphinx follows up. My Khemri Warsphinx has 3 crew members within its howdah, and they are in range to use their bows on the boar boys. They roll well and are able to kill 3 boar boys. This causes a panic check, and the boars fail this, fleeing backwards onto the hill. My chariot uses its bows to aim for the shaman and takes 1 wound from the shaman, leaving it with 1 wound remaining. My Tomb Guard move just short of the Black Orcs, within charge range of the Black Orcs, but not able to declare a charge themselves. The boar boys rally and move up slightly towards my scorpion in the back line. The Black Orcs charge into the Tomb Guard. The wyvern charges into my bone dragon. Combat continues with the Necrosphinx, and again he wins combat, pushing the Orc mob back and following up. However, the Necrosphinx is now down to 2 wounds remaining. Because of the position of this combat and how far away my skeleton archers are, the Orc mob with bows are redundant, out on the flank with nothing to aim at. The bone dragon and wyvern draw combat, taking 2 wounds each, and remain where they are. The boar chariot remains where it is, protecting the shaman as the shaman is in a very vulnerable position. The Black Orcs, as expected, win this first round of combat convincingly, and the Tomb Guard are down from 20 to 7 remaining. I have my Lich Priest positioned behind my Tomb Guard and use a Rise to bring the dead back, bringing a few models back to further frustrate the Black Orcs. I also pop open my Heretics Jar, which allows me to use a Rise once more, bring me back to 2 full ranks. The Black Orcs challenge my champion, which he accepts, slaying him, and then the regular warriors killing many more Tomb Guards. Again, it's a Black Orc win in combat, however, as I still have models left, combat continues. I charge my chariots into the boar chariots, wiping them out easily in combat. However, I end up slightly ahead of the Orc Shaman. However, I repositioned my Khemri Warsphinx so that he is in range during the shooting phase. The howdah crew take aim, and out of 3 crew members, 2 hit, and then 2 wound. The shaman does not have any saves and is killed. I guess you could say he was stuck between a rock and a hard place, the rock being the mountainside at the edge of the board, and the hard place being the bows on the back of the Warsphinx crew. Crew. I am able to charge my Ushabti with Ritual Blades into the flank of the Wyvern. So we now have Bone Dragon and Ushabti with Ritual Blades versus the Wyvern. The Wyvern issues a challenge to the Tomb King, which he cannot refuse as he has nowhere to go. Because of this, the Ushabti are unable to engage in combat. However, I still get my rank bonus in the combat resolution phase. The Tomb King and Bone Dragon both roll poorly, and it's actually the flank that allows me to win combat. The Wyvern fallbacks in good order. I follow up with both units, getting into the Wyvern's front arc for the next turn of combat. Combat continues with the Tomb Guard and Black Orcs. Same result as before. A Black Orc win, and funnily, the Black Orcs are stuck in combat again as one solitary standard-bearing skeleton is holding up the entire Black Orc line. Wow. The Necrosphinx wins combat again against the Orc mob and is on 1 wound remaining, which is quite precarious for me. The Orc mob have 2 models left, and their fate is inevitable. I win combat against the Wyvern again. The Wyvern is unable to touch me as every time he wounds me, he has to re-roll as I have the Armour of Ages, which is quite powerful within the game. I also cast my Will Be Done on the previous turn, which carries over into this turn, and I of course select an increase of +1 to my weapon skill. The Wyvern again falls back in good order and ends up going through the Orc mob behind and ending up on the other side of that unit. I follow up with my Bone Dragon, getting into the Orc mob and the Ushabti landing a few inches short. The remaining boar boys finally get into my Tomb Scorpion, which they regret straight away. The Tomb Scorpion does take 1 wound, however kills 4 of the 6 boar boys, leaving just 2 of them which flee. I pursue and catch the boar boys, killing them where they stand. I reposition my Scorpion as I'm now thinking that the Wyvern is looking like a tasty target at this point in the game, and it has come within my backlines. My Ushabti charges into the Orc mob, so we now have another 2v1 combat, this time Bone Dragon and Ushabti versus an Orc mob.
combat res is a convincing win. I think it was by 11, and the orc mob fall backwards. I pursue and easily catch them, killing them and removing them from play. My skeleton archer takes shots at the orc mob with bows and kills a couple of them. I raise the dead again with Arise, frustrating the Black Orcs. I am briefly back up to 8 models from the one that I had, as Arise on infantry is wizard level plus a D3. Black Orcs win again, but amazingly have still not wiped out the Tomb Guard, as that Arise came off perfectly, and we are back down to that brave, solitary bannerman again. Oh my god. The Wyvern is able to charge my Scorpion, and even though the Wyvern does take a wound from the Scorpion, he takes the remaining wounds off of the Scorpion, killing it. He then overruns far away from my Bone Dragon, whereby I cannot catch the Wyvern in my last turn. The Black Orcs did it. Huzzah! They finally killed the Tomb Guard. That pesky standard bearer is dead. Well, he's already dead, so I guess we'll say he's unalive and move on. The Black Orcs overrun and actually get into my bow Ushabti that were behind the Tomb Guard. The Necrosphinx finally kills the 2 orc mob soldiers that are remaining and moves up the board far away from any potential danger. The orcs with bows are able to kill one of my skeleton archers, and I go from 12 archers down to 11. The Black Orcs are able to kill 2 of the bow Ushabti models and take a further wound from the remaining Ushabti. However, it is not enough to wipe them, and they remain in combat at the end of the game. My skeleton archers require payback and take some shots at the orc archers, killing a few of them. I do move my Khemri and War Sphinx to see if I can get some shots across the board towards the orc archers, as it's the only unit on the board I could potentially hit. However, the short bows are out of range, and even with mythical pathways, I wouldn't be in range as well. The orcs have the war boss on Wyvern, the Black Orcs, and a slightly over half unit of orc mob with bows still on the table at the end of the game. The Tomb Kings have the Tomb King on Necrolith Bone Dragon, the Necrosphinx on 1 wound remaining, the bow Ushabti with 1 model left, my Lich Priest that has been untouched, 2 of my skeleton chariots, my whole unit of Ushabti with ritual blades, and finally my Khemri and War Sphinx. The final score: Tomb Kings 1,205 points, Orcs and Goblins 514. If this was a tournament, I think roughly it would be 16 points to 4. Anyway, guys, let us go to the debriefing. So there we have it, guys. That was the battle report for the Tomb Kings versus the Orcs and Goblins. First of all, I just want to say a massive thank you for taking part and watching this video. It means a lot to me. This video took a long time to make. A lot of things have been going on personally in my life with my job and things such as that, so I haven't really had the time to focus on video editing that much. So I've basically recorded and edited this in like 2 or 3 separate parts over about 4 weeks. So I do apologize for that, but it's kind of out of my control. Hopefully the next couple of battle reports that I do produce on this channel will be better quality. The audio did go a bit funny for some reason. I don't know why, but it's only on like the first 2 turns, I think, and very little happens in the first 2 turns. Speaking of the turns, let's go through it quickly. So what actually happened in this battle report? Well, we played Mountain Pass, which is a very interesting scenario to have, because the way the table was, I'm one side, he's the other side, there's mountains either side, it's just one big lane, and you can't go off the board that side, which I think kind of messed him up a little bit, because his shaman got stuck on the rocks. His shaman was stuck out on the side. On one side, took out his boar chariot with my chariots, and I sort of overrun past his shaman. His shaman was sort of unprotected, and even though I couldn't maneuver with my chariot because he'd gone past, I was still able to use my Khemri and War Sphinx, who got his very first kill. First time I ever used him. Very pleased with the paint job as well. Got him to basically, I was going to say throw the javelins, because the Howder crew, they're actually holding javelins, but they have bows, they have short bows. I shot the short bows, got the 2 wounds off him, which he had left, and killed him. And that was a big, big result. Quite early on, it was like turn 3 or 4, I think that was. And he was without magic then for half a game, which I know from my experience of playing in the past and losing your spellcaster early on. It is not nice. It is difficult to play. It's always an uphill battle then. And that was a big positive for me. I controlled the right flank once I'd done that. The Shaman was dead. Chariots went charging up, controlled the board. My Khemri War Sphinx is just behind. And I'd also, his ball boys fleed. They turned around. And then my Scorpion come on and just took him out straight away. So I had the back line with the Scorpion. I had my right flank secured. On the left flank then, I just had the Necrosphinx. I just charged him right up. I was just like, yep, come at me, bro. Threw the Necrosphinx up the left flank. Flew into his Orc mob, which had Frenzy. I think they lost their Frenzy at one point in the combat. It was a continuous combat throughout. They did well to hold on to that Necrosphinx. They could have beat the Necrosphinx. He did have a really bad roll where I think he needed like 5s or something to hit. And I think he just rolled like a load of 1s and 2s. So he was a little bit frustrated with that. But the Necrosphinx survived combat. It had 1 wound remaining. And then at the very end of the game, I just sort of flew him away from the short bows because they might have got a lucky shot in and killed it. It would have been a really difficult shot to land, but it might have actually got him. So I got him out of there just to point preserve. So that was the left flank secured for me, and right flank secured. The Scorpion did a little bit of work on the ball boys, and then the center of the board, which is where a lot of the action happened, and you'll see from the turns how funny it was. So to summarize, I know that the Tomb Guard are not the best. Infantry in general in Warhammer isn't that good at the moment. And my Tomb Guard was like 300 something points. His Black Orcs were over 500 points. So I didn't want to face his Black Orcs with any of my constructs because I just felt like I could put my Dragon in there. I could put my Khemri War Sphinx in there. I certainly want to keep my Lich Priest away from that and all my other stuff. So I had to think, what can I use to sacrifice to basically hold them up? Because if I'm not going to kill them, just frustrate them. That's the way I thought would be best to play. So they had the banner on them, the Banner of Desert Winds, which gives them a reserve move, which is really, really handy. So by having the reserve move, I was able to get a little bit of extra movement. And then by using the Mythical Pathways spell, I was able to yeet them up the board. It's like 12 inches up the board or something. So before, even though the Orcs and Goblins were going a lot faster up the board than what I was slowly ambling up the board with, I was able to just go whah and just throw the Tomb Guard right in front of the Black Orcs. So the Black Orcs are literally like, we charge and we fight it, or we can't do anything. We have to take that combat now. And I purposely put it there, and I didn't charge myself. I just thought, no, I'm gonna let him charge me because I'm happy just to just stand there and just let it happen. And that's exactly what took place. So he charged them. He obviously won combat. I was never going to win combat, and I think I went from like 20 down to like 7 in the first thing of combat. Just lost a load of them, and then I was just like, arise, and then a few of them come back. And then he wins combat again. I still got some left. And I'm just like, arise. And then I'm like, oh, let's open this jar. Hieratic jar. Pop it open. Arise. And then I just kept bringing them back. And what was funny was, because the way Tomb Kings play, they don't flee. They're immune to psychology. They don't operate in the traditional sense of other armies in Warhammer. So if you've got one left, you've got to break it completely and kill it. So I had my standard bearer because my champion got killed in combat. My standard bearer was just there holding the standard. Then like 8 other dudes come back or whatever it was. Then they all 8 of them get wiped out again. He's just still there, just holding the banner. It's like, come on then. And basically, he didn't finish combat with them until the 6th turn, by which point he'd sort of overrun into my Bow Ushabti. He almost killed them. I think if he had another turn, he would have killed them. He took 2 of them out, but I still had 1 Bow Ushabti left on the battlefield at the very end. But it worked perfectly because it stopped the Black Orcs doing anything horrible to me. It frustrated me. It points preserved. I was happy to throw away 300 points of Tomb Guard if it meant that 500 points of Black Orcs didn't actually do anything nasty to me. So I'm very, very happy that it worked out the way it did, because I had this idea in my head of trying this out in a battle. And because I'd never really used Mythical Pathways in a battle until this very battle. This was the first time I actually took this spell and used it. And I had the idea, I saw something online, I was like, I might try this out. People seem to be sleeping on this spell, and that is supposed to be quite good. I want to try it out, and I used it to full effect. I've actually used it since in another battle, and it worked really well in another battle as well. So yeah, overall very, very happy with how the battle went. The Tomb Guard, the Bone Dragon and the Ushabti with Ritual Blades, it was frustrating because I just couldn't kill the Wyvern. I took a few wounds, take some off me. Obviously, I've got the Armor of Ages on, so it's just like reroll. Yep, it's bouncing off my armor, reroll. And he just slipped away into the back lines and then just sort of went far away at the very end, and I couldn't kill it. But overall, very pleased, very happy with the result and how the battle turned out. It's the very first time I've used my Tomb Kings on the channel, so I'm very pleased to finally get them up on here, because so far I've only been using my Orcs and Goblins against other sort of factions. They're the first faction that I've got to use in Warhammer the Old World. I got to give a lot of love to my friend Paul. You'll know him as Lord Rex or so. He got me into Warhammer the Old World, and he's the reason why I'm using sort of Tomb Kings and stuff like that. So a big shout out to him as well. I do want to get some more battle reports up on the channel with other factions. I did have a battle this weekend just gone. I didn't take enough photos or couldn't really do enough to warrant doing a battle report with that. But that was with my dwarves for the first time. I will do a battle report with the dwarves on this channel once I've had a few more battles with the dwarves and got a bit more of an idea of how I can sort of operate with them and stuff. And yeah, there'll be more stuff coming up on the channel. Once I have the time to do it, once things settle down, I will get more videos up on the channel. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I've been Dragonheart. Until next time, goodbye.